In our modern world, it has become remarkably easy to lose control of our own lives. Not in dramatic ways, but quietly, incrementally. We are surrounded by systems, algorithms, expectations, incentives that reward us for speed, efficiency, and constant output. And so, without ever making a conscious decision, many of us begin to move faster. We rush through moments, we compress experiences, we optimize our time. But in doing so, we may be committing a subtle mistake. Because when everything in life becomes optimized, life itself begins to shrink. We do not notice it immediately, but over time, something begins to erode. Not our productivity, not our success, but our sense of presence, our sense of self. After enough years of this quiet acceleration, we risk arriving at the end of our lives having done many things, but having truly experienced very few. In fact, it echoes strongly in the work of Seneca, particularly in his essay on the shortness of life. In this work, Seneca argues that life is not short by nature, but that we make it short, not through catastrophe, but through misallocation, through distraction, through the careless surrender of our time. At first glance, this may seem obvious. Of course, wasting time shortens life. But Seneca's idea is more precise than that. He suggests that most people are not actively wasting their lives. They are simply giving them away to ambition, to status, to obligation, to things that feel urgent, but are not meaningful. Here we must be careful not to misunderstand him. Seneca is not arguing for laziness, nor is he rejecting work or achievement. Instead, he is pointing to a deeper issue. We often confuse activity with progress and speed with purpose. Imagine your life as a road. Most people believe that moving faster along this road is inherently good, but speed only matters if you are moving in the right direction. Otherwise, acceleration simply ensures that you arrive at the wrong destination sooner. In this sense, speedrunning your life is not about dying young. It is about arriving early, to a place you never intended to go. We can see this pattern everywhere. People who spend decades chasing careers they do not care about. People who adopt beliefs, not because they are true, but because they are popular. People who structure their lives around external validation without ever questioning whether that validation matters. From the outside, these lives appear successful, efficient, even admirable, but internally, they are often hollow because they were never truly chosen. They were inherited. This brings us to a critical distinction. There are two ways to move through life: deliberately or automatically. The automatic path is easy. It is shaped by culture, by incentives, by the expectations of others. It requires very little thought, but it comes at a cost. Because when we do not choose our direction, we surrender ownership of our time. And time, as Seneca reminds us, is the only thing we truly possess. The deliberate path, however, is far more difficult. It requires reflection. It requires resistance. It requires the willingness to slow down in a world that constantly demands speed. But it offers something the automatic path cannot: a life that actually feels like your own. Interestingly, the world does not reward this approach, at least not immediately. Slowing down can look like falling behind. Questioning norms can look like failure. Choosing differently can feel isolating. And so, most people do not do it. They continue moving faster, consuming more, doing more, becoming more efficient versions of themselves, without ever asking whether that version is worth becoming. But there is another layer to this, a more subtle one, because speed does not only affect what we do, It affects how we perceive. When you move quickly through life, your attention fragments. Moments blur together. Experiences lose depth. You remember less. You feel less. Not because life has become less meaningful, but because you have given yourself less time to process it. Consider something simple, a conversation. When rushed, it becomes transactional. Words are exchanged. Information is transferred, but nothing is truly absorbed. Now compare that to a slow conversation, one where pauses exist, where thoughts are explored, where silence is allowed. The difference is not in the content, it is in the attention. And attention is what gives experience its weight. The same is true for everything else. Work, relationships, even rest. When optimized excessively, these things lose their substance. They become tasks, checkpoints, items to complete. And slowly, life transforms from something lived into something managed. This is the paradox of efficiency. The more efficient you become, the less you experience. Because experience requires time. It requires presence. It requires inefficiency. This is why some of the most meaningful moments in life feel unproductive. Walking without a destination, thinking without a goal, sitting without distraction. These moments do not contribute to output. They cannot be optimized. And yet, they are often the moments where we feel most alive. But modern systems are not designed for this. They reward clarity, speed, measurable results. And so, naturally, we begin to value these things above all else. We begin to measure our lives in metrics. Hours worked, tasks completed, goals achieved. But there is no metric for presence, no metric for depth, no metric for meaning. And so, we optimize what can be measured, at the expense of what cannot. Over time, this creates a kind of illusion, a life that looks full, but feels empty, a life that is efficient, but not fulfilling, a life that is moving quickly, but not necessarily moving forward. So what is the alternative? Seneca offers a simple but difficult answer. Reclaim your time, not by doing less, but by being more intentional, by examining where your attention goes, by questioning what you are optimizing for, by recognizing that speed is not inherently valuable, and perhaps most importantly, by understanding that not everything in life should be optimized. Some things should be experienced slowly, deliberately, even inefficiently. Because in the end, life is not something to be completed. It is something to be experienced. And the faster you try to finish it, the more of it you leave behind.